Okay, what we'll see now is how the increased resistance will affect the waveforms in volume control mode of ventilation. We have a patient who is ventilated with volume control of 500 at a flow rate of 30 liters per minute with a rate of 12 per minute, and each breath is 1.5 seconds. Now, to analyze the waveform, you can see here how once the breath is initiated, it's triggered here by time, the machine will try to deliver 500 tidal volume at a flow rate of 30 liters per minute, and the pressure will go up initially from this point to this point. This is the pressure required to overcome the airway resistance, and then the pressure will gradually increase to the peak inspiratory pressure, and this is the pressure required to overcome both airway resistance and lung and chest wall compliance. Once the flow becomes zero and the pressure will go down to a plateau pressure, which is the pressure required to overcome the lung elastance and chest wall. Now, if the resistance is increased, I will wait for the first one to appear, and then we'll increase the resistance. Now the resistance is increased. What you will see here is, and I will freeze it for you, you can see how the initial rise in the pressure remarkably increased compared to the previous breath. This is again the pressure required to overcome the airway resistance. Look at the slope of the increase in the pressure after that. It is very similar to the previous breath, indicating that there was no problem with the compliance or the lung elastance or the chest wall elastance. This is a peak inspiratory pressure that is elevated, but it is mainly because of the airway resistance. Once the breath is put on hold, the plateau pressure here is noticed to be similar to the plateau pressure in the previous breath, and the difference between the peak inspiratory pressure and the plateau pressure is much increased compared to the previous breath. This both indicate that the problem here is increased resistance. At the same time, you can take a look on the expiratory flow. You can see the limitation of the expiratory flow, and here the peak expiratory flow is much lower than the previous breath, and also it's taken longer time for exhalation before that expiratory flow goes back to zero compared to the previous breath. So in summary, the increased resistance will cause an increased airway pressure. The peak pressure will be elevated. The plateau pressure will be the same. The difference between the peak pressure and plateau pressure will be increased. And there is a limitation of the expiratory flow indicated by decreased peak expiratory flow and prolonged expiration. Thank you very much.